Today we're talking about the 5 vinyl commandments. This is advice to new record collectors from channel 33 RPM viewers. Now these tips also serve as a good reminder to those of us who have been doing this for a while. You don't want to miss this one. Be right back. Hi, my name is Frank. Welcome back to channel 33 RPM, your channel for vinyl gear and more. So recently I took to social media and I asked you guys to weigh in. The question was, what is your number 1 tip for those just getting into vinyl for new record collectors? And I gotta tell you, there were a ton of responses, north of 200 for sure, probably a few hundred responses. So I went through all of those and I noticed the tips that there were certain trends or themes that kept repeating themselves. So I took what you guys had left and I divided it into 5 broad themes. That's what I'm calling the 5 vinyl commandments. So check this out. After you're done watching the video, let me know what was missed from this list. What is your piece of advice for new record collectors that I may fail to mention in this video? And again, leave that in the comments below. Anyway, I'm super excited. Let's get into this one. All right, commandment number 1. Buy what you love. So this was a reoccurring theme. I'll just read you a few of the comments. Carrie wrote, buy what you like no matter what others may think. Don't buy just because it's what everyone else is buying. And on a similar vein, Angel wrote, collect what you like and enjoy hearing. Don't listen to people who want to control what you collect, criticize what kind of gear you have and where you purchase your records. So both of these, this raises a very good theme. Really buy the music that you like, because record collecting is not a cheap hobby, so make sure the records you're getting are records you're going to enjoy. In that same vein, Keith left this comment saying, don't do it, meaning get into vinyl, because you think you may make money selling records later. Do it because you love the music. And I totally agree with Keith said. I mean, again, I'm lumping this under the umbrella of buying what you love, buy what you really want to. And really, once you start getting into buying records for the sake of flipping them or making money down the road, you're really going down a slippery slope for a couple of reasons. But the primary reason being, there's no guarantee that that record you are buying, no matter how limited it may be, will actually increase in value down the road. That's a guessing game, and that's a fool's game in many ways, because I said we don't know what direction that is going to take. And besides that, you're spending money that you could otherwise be spending on stuff you really dig and on stuff you really want to listen to. Plus, we all know the process of selling records is a huge pain, whether you do it online on Discogs or eBay or locally. I mean, do you really want to go through all that? Is that worth making a few bucks? It may or may not. But again, back to the original point, buy those records that you love. Commandment number 2, and this one is kind of related to the first one, but commandment number 2 is go for quality over quantity. Some really good comments here, which I'm lumping into this category. Lisa wrote, buy only what you'll listen to. It's too expensive a hobby to waste money on records that you won't play. And Other Jesus wrote, don't get caught up in having the biggest collection. Buy records that you are actually going to play on your turntable. I'm not anti-collecting, quite the opposite, but it can get expensive, and then you wind up with the records you'll never listen to. And then this third comment, less is more. Buy your absolute favorites. Don't try to buy everything just for the sake of it. And this is so true. I mean, particularly when we watch these other vinyl community videos, it's just so tempting because you see these walls of records behind people kind of like this one, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta buy records, I gotta build up my collection, I gotta have that wall of records. And that sort of pressure is really not necessary, particularly if you're new to this. As I said, quality over quantity. Don't buy just for the sake of buying, because then you end up in this circumstance where you have a huge record collection and you don't have time to listen to all of those records. I've heard stories of people buying records and never getting around to even listening to them. Again, it's part of that peer pressure and just buying for the sake of buying, which is something to be avoided if at all possible. And I mean, I'm guilty of that as well. I did a purge of my collection last year because I realized I have more records than time to listen to them, and a lot of records just aren't getting any spins. They'd probably be better off with someone else who would actually listen to those records. So again, don't feel you got to buy a whole whack of stuff. This is an expensive hobby. Buy the records you love, and again, go for the quality of your collection rather than quantity. I guess it also applies to condition of records, right? Like if you can buy a couple scuffed up records, and you know, they're gonna be full of pops and clicks and that sort of stuff, or maybe take that same money and buy a record in really good condition that's gonna sound great and that you're gonna cherish for a long time. Commandment number 3, I call this one mind your wallet. What do I mean by that? Well, check out some of these comments. This first one comes from Karabi Crew, aka Frankie, and he writes, buy what you can afford, don't spend big money. And Gregory writes, be patient, don't overspend. Find a great local shop and get to know the owner and let them know what you like and what you're looking for, and they'll help you build your collection. Yard sales can be fun. So mind your wallet. This all comes down to money. Record collecting can be a hugely expensive hobby if you let it. I mean, you can be frugal. I've done videos on how to get deals on records before, but it's getting harder and harder to do that. So don't go into hawk, don't go into debt, buying records. Buy truly what you can afford. That may be new records, but it may also be used records. There's always bargains to be found in dollar bins at record stores, the $5 bins or whatnot. There are other ways to find deals on records. As Gregory said, check out yard sales, go to garage sales, check out used records on the online classifieds, go to flea markets. And again, just try to make your dollar, make your money go as far as it can. And again, don't overspend. It's so difficult not to overspend at times, right? Like thinking of record store day where you walk into a store and there's always limited edition records and you're just feeling you got to buy all these because this is your only chance to get those. Remember, buy what you can afford, mind your wallet, but back to the earlier tips, you know, buy what you love and what you're going to listen to. Commandment number 4, buy the best gear that you can afford. Now, this is inadvertently perhaps a controversial commandment or a controversial tip, because really where to start in terms of gear and in terms of your turntable is something that not many of us can agree on. I'll show you what I mean by reading some of these comments. Steve wrote, buy what you can afford and have space for. We all have to start somewhere. If all you can afford is a Crossley, then go for it. Orange Records Fargo, this is a record store in Fargo, North Dakota, wrote, buy a decent turntable. And again, they're saying no Crossley suitcase players unless you're planning to listen to $1 records on it. And then finally, Aaron writes, start with a $200 turntable. Otherwise, you might not understand why vinyl can sound good. I gave up on vinyl in the 90s because of a $50 Radio Shack turntable. I didn't think records sounded that good. It was the player, not the records. So, I mean, I've done videos on this topic before, and I'll do other videos in the future in terms of gear and where to start with your turntable. And as I said, there's sort of all these different opinions, particularly over the Crossleys and the suitcase style record players. And I'm not going to tell you what to buy in this video or what not to buy. All I'm going to say is buy the best gear you can afford. Do I recommend a Crossley or a suitcase style record player? No, absolutely not. But if that's all you can afford, and if that's going to get you in the game, sure, go for it. I mean, just know it's not going to sound fantastic, and you know, it might not make sense to play $35 records on a $50 record player, if you know what I mean. I did a video a while back where my kids tried out a Victrola, which was like $35, and they loved it. And at the time of that video, they were 9 and 11, and that was the perfect turntable for them. However, and I've seen a lot of other YouTube videos where people, you know, in their late teens, early 20s, they have these all-in-ones and they love them. So I'm not going to judge. Buy what you can afford. However, if you want to get into it properly and you want something that's going to sound decent and really get that warmth that we've talked about, you know, spend some more money. Spend a couple $100 extra bucks. I'm going to do a video about this in the next month or so where I'm going to give tips for buying your first record player. But for the time being, just buy the best gear you can afford. Commandment number 5, keep it clean. So what do I mean by this? Keep it clean. I'm not referring to language. I am referring to your records. Keep your records clean. Check out some of these comments left by channel 33 RPM viewers. Jacob wrote, number 1, learn how to get your records clean and keep them that way. And Paint Namer wrote, take good care of them. And this is really so important, right? Because what all starts is with your record, and your record is literally a piece of vinyl or plastic that spins around in little grooves, and the tiniest of needle goes in the grooves and reads them, and that produces music. So if you have dust on your record, or if you have gunk, it's going to make it that much harder for the needle to read the grooves and to produce that sound, that warm sound that everyone into vinyl is chasing. So you got to keep your records clean. And I mean, it's not just dust and dirt. I mean, even grease from your fingers, if you touch the record, all of this stuff can impact the quality of your listening experience. Beyond that, I mean, you're spending good, hard-earned money on your records. You want to take care of them. And this is so different from when I was growing up, because as a kid in the 80s, we really didn't take that great care of our records, right? We stacked records on piles. We didn't always sleeve them. I rarely put my album jackets and outer sleeves. I mean, it just wasn't as much of a thing now. I guess nowadays vinyl has been fetishized. That's not the right word, but you know what I mean. It's become this thing, and we've elevated it, and it's really become a premium product, whether we care to admit it or not. And you know, take care of it as a premium product. You spent your money on this. Just make sure you're taking good care of your investment. Those are the 5 tips, but I did want to add a 6th bonus one in here. Commandment number 6, the bonus one, have fun. This one is so important, and sometimes we forget to have fun. We get so deep into things that it's like can't see the forest through the trees, right? Here's a comment that kind of summarizes this really well. And Deagle wrote, my number 1 piece of advice for someone getting into vinyl is to just have fun with it. Don't stress about getting the perfect mint to near mint vinyl when starting to build your collection. Start with the albums you love and slowly upgrade your collection as you go. Always remember, it's about the music and not the status. And this summarizes it perfectly. Just go with it. Enjoy the hobby. Have fun with it. Don't get naysayers. Don't let them get you down. I mean, if you watch too many YouTube videos, there is definitely a level of from a small percentage of people, but there's definitely sort of this attitude, holier than thou, and vinyl snobbery. Of course, it exists. It exists in every hobby. It existed when I was a kid. I remember being 12 years old, going to record stores and being so intimidated because the people there were kind of looking down maybe at the records I was buying, that sort of stuff. So just have fun with it. It's not about getting the best gear or the best pressings when you're starting out. It's about buying the music you love and having fun with the hobby. And that's something that we can never forget, even as we get more into the hobby, or if you don't want to call it a hobby, the lifestyle, whatever. Even guys like me and people have been doing this for decades have to remember, at the end of the day, it's about the music and it's about having fun. All right, 33ers, there are my 5 or 6 tips for getting into vinyl, the 5 or 6 vinyl commandments. Let me know what you thought of this list in the comments below. And what did I miss? What is your number 1 piece of advice for people getting into vinyl, people getting into record collecting? Let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, if you dug today's video, I would appreciate a quick thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, what the heck are you waiting for? I post a new video every Sunday and many Fridays as well. Dear 33ers, I hope each and every one of you has a fantastic week. Until next time, keep on spinning.